Would you please state your name for the record and we can begin this interview?
My name? Gracious. Smee, is that you? I say Smee, one can sure get used to not seeing that loathsome Peter Pan. How long has it been now? I'm afraid I have forgotten. But if anyone knows it's you, Mr. Smee, can you hear that sound, that ticking? Can't you hear it?
Please state your name, inmate 0012, unless you want us to use 0012 as your name for the article instead. That would make the guys at Security Division a lot happier.
My name? Well, of course, Mr. Smee, it's Captain James Tiberius Maximus Coronado. But everyone here just calls me Captain Hook. And now tell me good, sir, to whom do I have the honor of hosting as guest aboard my humble vessel this evening?
For the record's sake, I'd prefer it if you would only refer to me by my code name, which is until after the 13th dossier is designated as Gold. But I'm a lot like you, Captain. I am also a leader who is in charge of a department that I can run in same Bristol fashion as any admiral. In short, if it helps, please call me Captain or Captain Gold.
Well met, Captain. Is there anything I can get for you? I mean, before we begin, I'll have Mr. Smee bring us a vintage wine. You know, I don't even let the other members of this crew even know that I keep this bottle. But in light of not having to deal with the Pan meddling in my affairs, I feel it's worth the celebration. Shall I have Smee pour you a glass, Captain?
Thank you, Captain, but I must decline. Perhaps after we get this business over with, I must admit I'm still a lightweight when it comes to even a mild Merlot.
Of course, of course. Well, I hope you will forgive me, as I tend to enjoy and indulge myself when I'm in the mood to celebrate. Do you mind if I?
Not at all, Captain, it's your special occasion. In fact, the more loose your speech gets, the more likely. I'll hear the best of the best stories. Just maybe save me a cup for the after-party?
As you wish. Moving on to business, Captain Gold. If I recall, you want to know the real reason why I'm here in Neverland? Well, to be perfectly honest, Captain, my crew seem to not let me out on the deck very often these days, and it's for the better, I'd say. That insufferable demon of mischief, that evil incarnate, the creature of the night, the bloodthirsty trickster god, the one and only Peter Pan. My great and worthy opponent, whose laugh and short sword have only now just left my dreams. Oh, dear me. I seem to have lost track of where I was. I mean, what were we just discussing just now, Captain?
Captain Hook. Why were you in the crew of pirates trapped in Neverland in the first place? We all know the story of Peter Pan, but the story that matters are the origin stories after all, at least as far as character arcs like redemption arcs or otherwise.
Ha. Straight to the point, Captain Gold. How refreshing not to have to worry about ancillary small talk. And who doesn't want to know? I see. So you say that the world wants to know the backstory of its beloved Captain Hook. A pirate's tale, I should think, yes. Swashbuckling and witty banter, and without any vulgarity phrasing of unsavory profanities. As is the maddening reality, I'm sure.
Well, there's no need to do the whole origin story from the beginning. I mean, with all due respect, Captain, of course.
Now that, my dear Captain, is something I can understand. Just say no more. It seems that in order to maintain any dignity in the eyes of the public officials, as you call them, I must present the Captain Hook that your readers desire more so than the Captain Hook that I most certainly am.
You have the attention of one journalist who can't help but listen. So, on behalf of my fans and the Justice, we are 100% all ears. Please continue, Captain. How did you find Neverland?
By accident, believe it or not. Although to be perfectly honest, as Captain Gold, it was an entirely arranged accident, although I cannot take credit for its initial suggestion. Oh dear, I'm afraid that we are going to have to go back and touch up on some of my origin story after all. You see, this is a terribly personal secret. I'm not in the habit of divulging this kind of information on a daily basis.
We are on the record, Captain. If you are not comfortable disclosing things now, we can reschedule.
Captain, I trust as one captain to another you understand the burden. Would you not want to do anything for your crew? And in return, do they not do likewise?
Yes, this is a good way to put it, Captain. They are mine and I am theirs.
Absolutely. Good form, Captain. You do understand the heartache of command. So imagine now that as a young and mostly inexperienced lieutenant who finds himself on a secret mission from none other than the King and Queen of Spain.
Ferdinand and Isabella?
Well, that's the name of the people of theirs we're familiar with anyway. At the time, to me, they will always be Fred and Belle. Sometimes I might even get away with calling them Fred and Izzy. They themselves used a nickname, like to call their own dynamic duo the Fizzle. But I digress. But where were we again?
Neverland, Captain. Did the Frizzle finance your voyage?
Yes, of course. Dear Captain. Well, I suppose they didn't exactly sign off on it per se. But let's just say that the funds came by a very large donation from the Queen's account, one that may not have been entirely agreed upon by all concerned parties.
And you accidentally found the place that would become known as Neverland? You make it seem like the Frizzle had recruited you to do some sort of Black Ops recon in the New World under the cover of looking for Neverland.
Astute deduction, Captain Gold. Yes, bravo. It seems you've been paying attention after all, but you may have figured out what it is the other way around.
So you went with that cover of recon in the Caribbean to actually seek out Neverland? Is that plausible deniability?
Oh yes, rather. But in the end, we absolutely ended up doing both. I was not yet captain, but my mentor was the great teacher Flashbeard, captain of the Jolly Rancher. And he once took me aside and told me man to man. He said, "Jimbo, you're incorrigible, and I get the feeling that you intend to stab me in the back and take command of my shift the moment you see the opportunity." And do you know what I had to do after he had said that to me, Captain?
I'd say you pretty much had no choice at that point but to go ahead and try to kill your mentor, Captain Flashbeard.
No. My teacher was a well-armed man, Captain. He had pistols and cannons made to his fancy. Sitting across from him in his ready room meant that you had at least 1 or 2 muskets of experimental design, trained on your position at all times. No captain to attack my teacher in that manner was an anticipation on his account, one that I had seen for myself during the course of many high seas, adventures alongside of him.
Poison? It would have had to have been done with poisoned food. A drink? If you couldn't buy at his personal guards or manage to pay the food tester.
I say, Captain, it's an excellent deduction. And of course you're right, the food taster was Smee, or rather Smee was teacher's most valued cook. But even Mr. Smee had his leverage, and it wasn't ambitious to seek a regime change on a careless mission. It wasn't difficult to all to pull off the mutiny. Everything seemed to happen so much more smoothly than when the exchange of power was over. And I have seen my share of mutinies. The whole lot of teacher's crew was in on the whole thing. We meticulously arranged things to quail our captain's suspicions up until the point when he began choking on his wine. A little recipe perfected by Mr. Smee, and the dramatics he used in it all. Seems there's no end into that man's talents. But don't tell the crew this. But I had to shoot Mr. Smee in the back a while ago, yes, but I couldn't bring myself to move his body. So there it lay. It made my ready room all too unbearable to work in after 3 days, and the crew have yet to inquire to his whereabouts to this day.
Captain, Neverland, we can go over the post stuff after we reach that point in the story where you have become trapped in the land where you do not grow up. I could listen to you all day, Captain, but my readers.
Indeed, my aggression tried to steal the focus of flashback, as is the wanting of any old pirate. We are both captains, yes. Do you not agree that we have earned the right to ramble on?
That's fair enough, Captain. Please continue.
Quite. And now where was I? Yes, teacher. Well, he died on his table and we tossed him overboard. I assumed command of the ship and made Smee my executive officer, as was our arrangement. I announced to the crew that we were not actually doing recon at that moment. We should actually at least be trying to make it look like we were. But you see, Captain, back then pirates were attempting to make their professions appear legitimate. Some captains would trade cargo with some of their prizes as a sort of uneven trade exchange program that was our own way of avoiding the hangman's noose. At least that was the theory. It was easier to bribe the judges, but we didn't know that back then. The story the crew would hear from me was about a mythical location of a certain fountain, the legendary youth pool. This was back when you could count on things like magic to keep you from swinging from the gallows. Well, to make a long story short, I convinced the crew that once the pool was ours, any pirate who would happen to have been killed or died during our adventure would be brought back to life using the youth pool's power.
And the pirate crew bought it all hook, line, and sinker?
Hook, line, and sinker. Yes, Captain. And with a guarantee like that, who would turn down such a bargain? We're not living forever, remove the value of all the realm's coins. What a fantastic load of whale dirge. Well, at least that's what I was convinced of. My orders did not actually come from the Spanish monarchs. As a pirate, we plot our own courses, and we do the things that we want to do. That's the pirate's life after all.
Well, you put your mind to a specific goal of finding the land of eternal youth and did. So that must have made believers out of everyone on board, including yourself?
Oh yes, Captain, it made far more out of my crew than just believers. But you see, the thing about Neverland is that time is somehow anchored so that no vessels are able to navigate the currents of our Sumerian overlord. The clock. And now you may ask how? How can time not allow something to flow down? Its all-encompassing path of least resistance.
Bubbles of time? Pocket dimensions? But that's all theoretical.
In theory, Captain. In theory, 60 years is equal to that of 6 seconds. There's a biological paradox that occurs when a living organism finds itself standing beside eternity. I would describe it as a kind of hollowing out. A breaking of bone and a stretching of skin that does not show outward signs of occurring. Not even when all that's left of the real view is dust ash, and the combination of both. Added with some water, and it has all become a moonlight shadow of mud. Skeletal and haunted, but nevertheless aware.
Captain, you make Neverland sound more like a living hellish nightmare and not the paradise of pleasure and leisure across the boundaries of eternity itself.
It is all of that and more, Captain, and I cannot tell you when I first crossed into the waters of Neverland. Not until after, well, it's hard to say, but the realization had only set it in after we discovered that we couldn't die. And that may have been a day, or it may have been 100 years, I suppose, to discover meant too little too late. But some of the crew chose to jump into the water rather than be sustained. If I had to bet, I'd say the merfolk are direct descendants of those that volunteered to walk the plank.
How about the indigenous people, the tribes that were living there already? Tiger Lily's people?
Stranded there too. Tiger Lily's tribe are actually called the Tiger Lilies after all because they were a tribe that used canoe to sail from shore to shore. One day the tribe had just rowed into Neverland. Everything that went in simply could not get out. Not unless you could fly, of course. Typical of fairy engineering to put the entrances and exits in places that humans have great difficulty getting to.
So, Captain, where is Neverland located? Or where would one find these entrances to the specific time bubble that is the place that we call Neverland?
The location is not important. It's the directions that matter. But if I had to give you a better estimate as to the portal itself, well, it's obvious, Captain Gold. It's the Bahamas. Consider the clues. Indians, alligators, youth pools.
Seems my next question has to be, what is Neverland? Or rather, how does such a place and possibly why does it exist? We have a good idea who is there thanks to your info as well as the Darlene family memoirs. But the residents are not the entire history of the hotel. Surely location matters? The function matters?
Does it matter, Captain? Wouldn't you like to know the secrets that are safeguarded in my mind? Do you want to know what Neverland is? It's a monster, a whale, a kraken, a crocodile. And when you are in Neverland, your clock ticks in your head, but it is not beat in your chest. And eventually all that goes away. And when the hollowing out occurs, it's not like being able to wake up out of a dream where the nightmare rides your fears to battle against you. It's a thirst that cannot be quenched, hunger that is never pacified, but it becomes suddenly non-existent.
What you're saying is Moby Dick is more like the actual force behind Neverland than the coordinates in space, that the Kraken Belly is the youth pool, the realm of forever young.
Precisely. And do you want to guess as to who takes responsibility for feeding the Kraken? For providing a substance of lost time from the souls of the victims already buried in their tombs. Tell me, Captain, do you know what it's like to die, but never to fall apart? To know what made you human has departed, and what's left is a shell of violence and horror.
Well, I've been in politics for years, so yeah, I can see that sort of. Sure, I'm just kidding, Captain. I really can't say that I've ever been undead before. But let's move on. Let's talk about the tiger lilies.
You refer to the indigenous princess, or as her tribe as a whole. Thing is, our situation in Neverland was eternal. It always went on. So we had already killed her and her tribe a dozen times or more before we came to the understanding that death was not the end. So there were times when peace and cooperation seemed worth a try. After all, there's not a lot of enjoyment to killing with the thing you try to kill isn't eligible for death.
Okay, so there was a time when everyone got along and wasn't feuding. What about the allegations of kidnapping Tiger Lily?
Yes, well, if you notice, we are not shown that interaction in the Disney movie, but it cannot be stressed enough that Pan was the architect behind those kidnappings. There was a time when Tigger Lily's father begged me to send a party out for the princess to rescue her from the clutches of Peter Pan, that flying troll. He's the only way in or out of Neverland's digestive loop, specifically that fairy, more accurately the fairy dust which gives people who believe the ability to fly. And the directions we are given in the movie are correct enough, but the context is missing for a reason. One does not need to know exactly how to find Neverland anyway. It really is a dreadful place.
There are only a handful of individuals who are still alive that can say they have returned from the youth pool. As far as we know, there's you and Wendy. And no one knows where she is.
Wendy? Oh yes, the Pan's little pet. The things Pan does to the girls like Wendy. That poor child. If only...
Captain, do you know where Wendy is?
Oh no, not me, Captain. Not the lovable scourge of the seas, Captain Hook. But I know who does know. You didn't hear it from me, old boy. But before I shot him, I was given Wendy's whereabouts by Mr. Smee.
Your executive officer, the former cook, he had
Oh, Captain, do you think me first officer could have held that girl, at least not by himself anyway?
He had help? Who helped him?
I say, Captain, this is not good for him after all. It may be that Smee only knew her location as to who has her and why. Well, I'll let you figure that part out.
Bait? Pan bait? That means, oh crud, are you saying they caught Peter Pan?
I'm afraid the only man who could enlighten you further is no longer among the living. And so it seems that even the gallant and fearless Captain Hook, despite the capture of my arch-enemy, am denied any such retribution. Do you know, Captain, I knew that Smee knew, and knowing that I knew that he knew that I know he could tell me. And so it seems that even the gallant and he could tell me, but before he could tell me, I shot him in the back.
Why, Captain? Why remove yourself from enacting your vengeance against Peter Pan?
Because unlike Pam, I am a human being. I am not a clockwork man. I have a metal hook, but the rest of me is flesh, Captain, flesh and blood. I must admit something. Do you know it Neverland, that hellish prison that we were seeking immortality in, gave us just what we wanted?
Never growing up. The fountain of youth. Life everlasting.
Yes, I suppose that's one way to look at it. However, once you've spent enough time in Neverland, it becomes a matter not so much as never growing up as it is you just cannot die. Why is there a single fairy present in all of Neverland? I want to ask you the questions now, Captain.
I couldn't say other than Tinkerbell's memoirs, which were all ghostwriters anyway. And anyway, people stopped believing in fairies, thankfully.
The fairy Tinkerbell was a felon, an imprisoned fairy trapped and sealed away in a bubble reality all of her own. But she could occasionally find her way back to Earth, to find her substance, and that is how she met Peter Pan. I doubt that Justice in this case believes, as the orthodox goose lines do, that there is such a thing as the devil and his helper, the anti-Hans. But if you ask me, the prophecy is fulfilled in the union of that fairy and Peter Pan, the demon and her pointy-eared beast.
Well, Captain, I can't speak for the Justice, but I was raised a gooseling and I'm familiar with the end times prophecies. What you're saying isn't all too impossible. I mean, this is after all Justice Grimm, and we deal with this stuff for breakfast on a daily basis, sometimes before a proper cup of coffee.
Now do you see why I couldn't be the one to take Pan's life? After all this time, who knows if Pan is still alive? It's possible whoever captured him sealed him away somewhere.
Are you sure you do not know who caught the Pan? Think about it, Captain. The arrest of that flying menace could close all of those unsolved cases if he admits to kidnapping all of those kids. I can't think of any individual that's more wanted by every ministry, including the Shadow Squad.
Well now, Captain, if I didn't know and told you what would become with me, surely you would let me escape the hangman's noose. Justice is just to my right.
Captain Hook, we recovered you from the belly of our amphibious machine who was working for the Navy Intel Division at the time. It was that mechanical unit that managed to successfully remove you from Neverland.
I was inside the croc. But, how? Isn't there? I can't remember anything. Damn it all, Crom take you, this cannot be happening to me.
Yes, Captain, it did. Our mechanical crocodile delivered you to us in a neat comatose state. And you were rehabilitated and are now part of the Justice Machine. We have not released any word to the public regarding your status or your acquired rank in the Restoration Court, as well as being a licensed chapman, a part-time exorcist for the judge with branch and other such duties that you still currently perform. You've only recently begun to forget everything, and old age is catching up to you very quickly.
Tell me that, Captain. Indeed, if you know all that you claim to know. Do you know how old I am?
No one does, Captain. You have not disclosed your age to anyone. There are no records of you to go off, other than the Jolly Ranchers crew manifest, and that's where you're listed under the name of Cook.
Ha. I have information that you most certainly desire, and my dear Captain, not only the information about my age, but the locations of both Pam and Wendy. But no, I must not tell another living soul. I promised I wouldn't.
Well, thank you for your time, Captain. I will see myself out. And don't worry about the Wendy or Pan situation. The Justice is patient, and we rarely find that rushing into things is useful. Plan and make more plans. Never stop brainstorming. That's what we do.
Wait, don't go, please, Mr. Smee. Don't leave me alone again. I can't. The croc, the tick, the ticking. I can't stand the ticking anymore. Smee, it's always ticking away. And every single click and clink is the removal of a piece of my soul. A fragment of Captain Hook perishes to dust until there's nothing left, and every passing second it goes on. Please, Smee, don't go. I'm sorry, Smee. I'm so sorry.
Author's note, I followed up with the Punishment Corps contact to see if anything the captain told me was true, but since there is not any sign of Peter to determine if his claims are true or false for that matter, we can't say for sure. The warden who is responsible for Hook's care told me there is a chance the old pirate isn't lying to us this time, which raises the following questions. We suspect how they caught him using Windy as bait, obviously. But as for the who, we only have one Neverland pirate. And if Smee is dead, that means he didn't do it in Neverland. There was also a chance that Captain Hook did manage to drink from the youth pool. Our best doctors estimate the age of Hooked to be at least 1,500 years old. No journalist has been granted an interview with the still salty but strikingly gentlemanly elder statesman. This may indicate that the pirate's mind finally snapped, or that having come close enough to being discovered, he feinted the madness or mental handicap to deflect unwanted attention. So if Hook is playing the long game, what's in it for him? This is the theory that has produced a possibility that knows exactly where Windy and Peter Pan are hiding, if indeed they are. In which case the captain is patiently waiting for the moment to return to wherever they are and exact his revenge. Bear with me on this, it's going to seem a little bit darkly. Let's say he has Pan and Windy, outside of Neverland. Wendy might not live as long as an elf, and with those two captured together and Pa finds that he is alone and may be forced to watch the bones of Windy turn into dust. This in effect adds more pain and suffering upon Peter Pan while his nemesis Captain Hook is taken care of in a manner that arguably is far more than he deserves. Now, if he has decided that Pan is being kept alive and that there is a way to pinpoint Pan's location using a mathematical algorithm that has been useful in finding missing fictional characters in the past, well, use it. We don't want to have to wait for Hook to make the first move in case he has a fail, safe, or self-destruct option waiting for us. Either way, we now believe it's only a matter of time before the numbers give us a viable location or set of coordinates. For when that day occurs, the Justice has since then organized a committee that is preparing and training mobile SWAT teams that will take Pan into custody if possible. Task forces redacted and data expunged will deploy and clear the way. And then the mobile SWAT teams redacted, also known as redacted, who are also associated with data expunged or authorized to use legal force against Peter Pan or any Neverland pirates that may be guarding him. There are teams of lawyers who have enough charges to put Peter Pan away for several lifetimes. But given what we know about Pan, he is ageless inside and outside of Neverland. Justice Grimm did at long last find the elusive Tinkerbell, and for the past couple of years they have been trying just to get her to talk. But nothing they can say or do or even threaten her with has been enough to get that fairy to say a single word. Most likely it's Tinkerbell, who knows exactly where both Peter Pan and Wendy are, and has decided that she is more than happy enough to take that information to the grave with her.